And now, introducing the #1 ranked player in San Antonio on the northwest side, inside 1604. It's Vergyverg! Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Vergyverg, and today we're going to be going over the Top O Texas tournament that we have been preparing for a few weeks. I know I haven't posted a video on that time, and it's because I wanted to dedicate that time to practicing for this tournament because for the last weighted cup, you know, I made a ton of videos during the last cup, but didn't do well in the weighted tournament, so I wanted to try something different here and just stop for the videos for a little bit and then prep for the tournament and see how I did if I went full out on the tournament. So let's get started. Alright, so we're starting round 1 against KillBuddy, and I think before the tournament he was the 5th highest person ranked at this tournament, which is interesting that we're playing him because we're so far down because of the Sinister Cup that we waited and didn't do great in. So we're still playing against people at the top. So we start Bibarel. It's a very safe starting Pokemon, and he starts with Lairon. So that's going to be a really bad matchup for him, so he swaps out into Granbull. And lucky for us, we have Nidoqueen in the back who's just going to be able to farm down Granbull with 1 shield and come out of that matchup with like 80 something energy, so we're gonna have enough for an earth power with 30 energy still in the back, so enough to get to another earth power with like 4 or 5 poison jabs. So Nidoqueen I really think is so Umbreon was the defining Pokemon in the cup, and then Alolan Ninetales beats Umbreon so much that people not necessarily strayed away from Umbreon, but I bet if you looked at the actual number of Pokemon per team, I would assume that Alolan Ninetales is actually more used than Umbreon, just because Umbreon's legacy and Alolan Ninetales is easier to come by in general. So even saying that, the person that we're playing against, KillBuddy, he's using Alolan Raticate instead of Umbreon, and that's because he probably doesn't have an Umbreon with Last Resort under 1500, which most people at least before this cup probably didn't. I'm sure that once this cup was announced, a lot of people just went out there and tried to trade people. I believe we got our Umbreon from GoFest, so pretty lucky that we have one. It's really terrible IVs. It's 10-2-2, but you know, it's legacy, so I have to use it, right? It's still probably the best Pokemon in this cup. So we go ahead and take game 1 there. We come in here to game 2. We decide to start with Alolan Ninetales, and he starts with Furret. So before this tournament, I had not really played against Furret. I've seen it on the charts. I know that it has Hyper Beam, and I find out here it also has Brick Break. So Brick Break's really good against normal types and dark types. So actually, really interesting. I think that Furret actually has a lot of merit. I haven't ran any like sims, and like I said, I haven't really played against a lot of it, but it just seems like Brick Break's really good against a lot of the meta. Most of the meta is normal and dark types, right? I mean, Umbreon, Bibarel, Skuntank, Lanoon a little bit, Alolan Raticate a little bit. But actually, it's double effective against Alolan Raticate, so that's pretty good. And we have Skuntank here in the back. He's our safe swap, but he comes in with a fairy here, so we're able to try to farm this down. And he actually takes us out, but we do take a shield, the last shield off of him. So I know that Bibarel loses to Granbull in a straight up match, but since this Granbull already used its energy on Skuntank, we don't have to worry about it getting to that like close combat to like actually take us out. So we come in with Bibarel, and we still have Alolan Ninetales in the back. Now with this Lairon here, we're just hoping not to get fainted out because Lairon devastates Alolan Ninetales. So lucky for us, we get this Surf off, It's going to be super effective against the rock typing, and yeah, actually takes it out from about half life. So I hadn't played a ton of Lairons either, but I did play a few. I did play a lot of Aggron during Cliffhanger, so I assume they're kind of the same. They have different movesets, obviously. I think Lairon has Body Slam and probably Heavy Slam, if I was to guess, or Rock Slide. So we start Bibarel here. We did take that game too, so we decided to play the third one out for fun. And we actually play out all of our game 3s if our opponent wants to. If they don't want to, then that's fine, but I personally prefer to play all 3 games. You know, I love this game, just want to play some more games. So Furret's really good against Bibarel. I'll try to say that name correctly for the rest of this video. And he brings out his own Bibarel against our Nidoqueen. We do have a lot of energy stored up, so we are going to either take the shield or do a ton of damage to this Bibarel. And actually, I believe if we shield here, we can just auto it down. We can fast attack it down. Yeah. So Nidoqueen, like I was saying before, I think Nidoqueen is really dominant in this cup. I personally believe Nidoqueen is the best role player on any team, just because it destroys Alolan Ninetales, and with a 3 energy lead, it actually beats almost every Pokemon in the meta, in the 1 shield scenario. And I believe in the 2 shield scenario, but we can go check that out. But I believe that's true. So if you come in against Alolan Ninetales and farm it down, you're going to lose a shield, but in turn, the next Pokemon that comes out is going to have to use at least 1 shield, probably 2, because you're going to be able to get 2 Earth Powers off on that Pokemon. And Earth Power is just doing a ton of damage to everything in the meta. It's pretty neutral damage against most things. I can't think right now what it would be resisted by. But anyways, back to this game. We have Bibarel in here against Raticate, and we just brought him in to actually take that Hyper Fang so that our Umbreon can come in against this Furret and hopefully get off a foul play or 2. It looks like we need to get off 2. And I believe we're close enough. I believe we're really close to being one-shot by Brick Break here. I think we do survive this, and then which means we only... Okay, so that's not as much as I thought. But the Quick Attack is still taking us down, but we do get to the last foul play, and we take out Kill Buddy in round 1. So we start this tournament off 1-0. Always a good start. You know, you don't want to lose. So our next opponent here is Victor, and we actually friended him at the end of the tournament. Funny enough, after each round, I would go sit with the San Antonio, like the people that went up there from San Antonio. We would talk about our round a little bit, you know, whatever time we had left, how we did, what our thoughts were and everything. And I said that Victor was my next opponent, and actually Texas Ranger fans said, that guy's really good, be careful. So that's what I had coming into this game, and actually this guy's actually insane. So Alolan Ninetales here against Skuntank, not a good matchup. Skuntank is a soft counter to Alolan Ninetales, especially in that lead scenario. So we swap out into Skuntank, which is going to be our safe swap. And he brings in Bibarel. So Bibarel is a little bit is strong against Skuntank, but we did get an energy lead. I believe we had 1 or 2 poison jabs, so we ended up winning that 1 shield matchup right there. But this Skuntank still had a lot of energy from... His Skuntank had a lot of energy from that Alolan Ninetales matchup. So we're thinking about... We're definitely bringing in Bibarel. And he swaps out into Alolan Ninetales, which is an interesting swap because he knows we have Alolan Ninetales in the back. I'm sorry, he swaps in Umbreon, but he knows we have Alolan Ninetales in the back. So it's an interesting swap because he gave us the switch advantage there. But we did win it from the Skuntank. He would have to lose the Skuntank to... Yeah, no, it is the right move, actually, now that I think about it. He has to go for it and hopefully get the Umbreon with enough attack power or enough charge to go through. And he ends up taking out the Alolan Ninetales, but our Bibarel has a lot of HP. Now Crunch is going to do about 35... Oh, he actually has Flamethrower. Oh, I talked to him at the end of that game, and he did say he misclicked onto the Flamethrower, he was trying to go for that crunch. Now, Flamethrower obviously resisted by Bibarel, and also Flamethrower costs more energy than Crunch does. So Crunch does more damage and costs less. So obviously these things happen. Some people, sometimes you just make mistakes. I know I made a ton of mistakes during this tournament as well. You just have to hope it doesn't, you just have to keep your mental, you can't tilt off your mistake. You just have to go with the practice you've had in the back the whole time, like that you've been doing, and just rely on yourself. So we start a Bibarel mirror here, and I know that I can take one Hyper Fang. It's not going to KO Bibarel. And actually, it's surprising, most people shield after the first one. And then I swap into Umbreon here. I've not reviewed these games till just now. I think that's a mistake. I've just given him switch advantage. But he does have a Skunk Tank in the back, so it's not too bad for us. We're just going to be going for last resorts here. I believe we have a 2 or 3 energy advantage on this Skunk Tank. I'm not sure. I think Flamethrower would have taken us out there. Yeah, so we QSA right here for the last resort, which means we're trying to gain a lot of energy, and it's going to cost us the shield because we know that we can get taken out by a Flamethrower. And yeah, we throw the last resort, and we should have enough energy almost for another one, maybe 2. Okay, we go for the foul play. We're maybe hoping that he baits a shield here, and we do bait the shield. And we are able to get a swap out into this Nidoqueen. So we were able to take all of the shields out with that Umbreon and regain a shield advantage, but at the cost of switch advantage. But when he brings in his Bibarel, he forgot how low it was, and that he already threw that Surf onto the Umbreon, so it didn't have enough energy to take us out. And he has this Lanoon, and I believe he tries to farm us down here, but we do survive, and we get the Earth Power off on this Lanoon. So the second Earth Power does take out that Lanoon, and we still have 3 Pokemon left, but they're all super low. So we bring in Bibarel here, and I think... I don't know if there's a way I win that game, but I believe a better chance would have been to bring Umbreon in and see if you could force a charge move on Umbreon, but I do believe we would have been taken out by 3 poison jabs there anyways, so we would not have made it to the foul play. But I do believe that's a higher percent play. I just kind of forgot also how much HP my Bibarel had, so we both kind of lost track of our Bibarels in that match. So it's tough. During the tournament, you really got to keep track of all of the energy that each of your Pokemon has in the back, but it's so tough to remember HP, energy of your Pokemon, their Pokemon, it can be a lot. So we start with Ninetales, Alola Ninetales versus Lanoon, and we actually had Lanoon on our team right before this tournament started. We actually switched Lanoon out, and it's because I had Lanoon in all my other remote tournaments, because this is my first live Ferocious tournament, and we never actually brought Lanoon in. So it's supposed to be a counter to the Waters, but it barely beats the Waters. It does beat them, but it barely beats them, to the point where you'd rather almost have a generalist besides Lanoon, because I don't know. I was super hyped on Lanoon at the beginning. He was the first Pokemon that I actually powered up for a team that I wanted to do a tournament with. But I think he's fallen off here towards the end towards the middle of the month. So we end up in this Umbreon mirror, and oh man, this is actually the worst part of the tournament here, is Umbreon versus Umbreon. It happens, it seems like at least once every match, unless I don't have Umbreon, obviously. But yeah, you get locked into these Umbreon mirrors, and it's interesting because it seems like the only way to guarantee victory is to QSA, right? And right here, we end up swapping during a move so that we can eat the move on Alola Ninetales, and I just wanted to do a little bit more damage to the Umbreon, and I knew we had a charge move here, but I know he has a shield also, so we take the last shield here, and we almost bring down the Lanoon. He's going to Grass Knot and take us out here, And we do have the Umbreon in the back. It's not going to be taking too much damage, but I know we can't take a Grass Knot, and I'm so afraid of how close... I don't know how close he is to another Grass Knot. I've forgotten at this point how much energy he has. So I go for 1 extra attack, and then I go for the last resort here. And I had the 1 extra attack on Lanoon, so we have 1 extra energy. And he doesn't go down on this last resort. I'm like, oh no, we were so close. We almost had this game. And then his doesn't take us out, and we just snarl each other down, and I have enough time to get to this foul play. So we got to that foul play because of the extra energy farm that we got from the Lanoon. It was just 1, but you know that 1 was enough to get to that foul play and take out that Umbreon. Really close game. Actually insane. So round 3 here, we go up against Norbillion. He was actually the number 3 ranked person, I believe, before the tournament started. And after this tournament, he was the number 2 of the participants. I believe the only one ahead of him was Peace Love Hugs. So bad lead for us, but we do get the swap out and take out the Alolan Ninetales with our Skuntank. And then I decide to shield this Skuntank because I wanted to do the Sludge Wave, but we over-farmed a little too much. We had the Sludge Wave ready, and we still went for 2 more Poison Jabs, and that cost us another shield there, and now I just swap out into Umbreon. Because we know Alolan Ninetales is down now, we look at the rest of his team. Nothing really endangers Umbreon here that he could have in the back, so we're fine just bringing Umbreon out, getting a lot of farm. And he actually comes in with a B-Barrel here. And we have a foul play's worth of energy and almost we do have a second. And I believe we're actually really close to a third. So we're just looking to take out... We are definitely getting a shield here. And any other future foul play we get, we are going to be taking a shield. And actually, he gets to the Surf before we get... Or it's a CMP tie. And we have a sliver of health. Oh my goodness. To hit the foul play on him. And we do get taken out, but we have Alolan Ninetales still at nearly full health in the back, and the Charms are just going to be doing a ton of neutral damage. So a lot of these wins here are really close, and that's what I noticed in this tournament is the margins for error are so thin in this cup because everyone's bringing similar Pokemon that you're just, the only way to win is a slight outplay, a slight energy gain here, slight farm there, correct shielding, and that is the most insane part of this cup. So we start with Umbreon against Suicune. I absolutely hate Suicune. I don't know if it's some sort of just, it's my kryptonite, but I don't know if it's just a mental thing, if I have a mental block against it, but I just cannot beat Suicune. And Texas Ranger fan used it in a remote league. I believe he used it in this tournament as well. And I practiced against him, and I lost every time against this Suicune, and I did not know how to beat it. Now, I talked to Peace Love Hugs afterwards, and he said just to win that Suicune matchup, you just have to stick it in there. Whatever Pokemon you get first in there has to stay in there and just fight it out. That Pokemon's going to be useless for the rest of the game, but you're going to be able to take shields off Suicune and possibly take it out, depending on if you have a B-Roll in there, Umbreon, or something like that. So I didn't learn that till after the tournament, so I did not use it in these games. Every time I saw Suicune, I pretty much... It's not like I tilted, but I was just already in a losing situation, so I would have to fight back up. And in this game, we end up swapping out into Alolan Ninetales, who also gets Bubble Beamed. So we have 1 Bubble Beam on our Umbreon and 1 Bubble Beam on our Alolan Ninetales, which now is taken out. And I'm still keeping this Umbreon alive. The foul plays are still going to be doing a decent amount of damage. It's only 1 bubble after all. But I believe he's probably going to bring Suicune back in here against this Umbreon since... Oh, no, he has Skuntank in the back. Okay. So we go for this foul play here, and I believe I'll just swap out. I assume that's what's going to happen. Yeah. Because I don't want him to farm our Umbreon down since he's not taking a ton of damage, so I need to get my Skuntank out there as fast as possible. And since I was so close to the charge move anyways, I decided to get the 1 more fast attack in, throw the charge move out, and then, come back in with with our Skuntank here. And he actually brings a Suicune in time. Well, we end up having to use a charge move on that Suicune pretty much. And we come in here. We pretty much get fainted if it's Sludge Bomb or Flamethrower. Yeah, so we get taken out there. And our Umbreon's so weak here in the back, both in defense and HP. So he ends up taking that second game. He still has a shield to spare, so he played that one really well. And we go in here in the third game. And I try to think of a team that can beat Suicune. So most people who go Suicune, they will almost always lead it because they want to throw out the Bubble Beam on a Pokemon, get a couple Snarls worth of energy, and then swap out into a safe swap of like Skuntank or Bibarel. Or at least that's how I would play it. So I'm imagining what I would do. So I'm thinking about going with Bibarel in there, and then if he swaps out into a quote-unquote safe swap, I can throw an Umbreon against everything else on his team except for Alolan Ninetales, and if he brings out Alolan Ninetales, I'm going to have that Nidoqueen in the back. So he actually starts with Skuntank. This is a good matchup for us. I believe we can get to 2 Surfs in the 1 Shield scenario versus the 2 Crunches, and we see his shields right there, and he actually QSA'd us, so he's 1 energy up, or 1 fast attack up on us there. So a really good play by him. Now, switch advantage is everything in this cup, and I think I'm going to shield this. Yeah, I shield this because I want to win this this first matchup, because my 2 Pokemon in the back really depend on what they're against. I can't go up against Ninetales with Umbreon, and I must go up against Ninetales with Nidoqueen, and I can't go in that Bibarel matchup. So we actually have enough energy here to get to this Hyper Fang, which really takes out his Bibarel. And yeah, he's going to have to surf us down here because we're just doing too much damage with our water guns, and we're really close to a surf, I believe, as well. So he really wanted to farm us down, but he couldn't. So that gives us a really good energy advantage here. And Umbreon's going to be able to beat Bibarel in a 1-0 shield scenario. So all we need to do now is Oh, no, I didn't QSA. I went for the Foul Play, but I have 3 or 4 energy worth of... yeah, it looks like I had 4 extra fast attacks to bring into this last matchup, which is the Alolan Ninetales. And I know I need to get into that Nidoqueen as soon as possible because he still has a shield. And I need to take that shield, but I thought a lot here while I was doing my first poison jabs, whether I was going to try to auto it all the way down, fast attack it all the way down, but I knew I couldn't. So I decided to take that shield, hoping that my Umbreon, I believe, still has 2 energy worth of Snarls in the back, so he would need to get 2 more to get to the Foul Play, which would be able to take out this Alolan Ninetales. But look at our health. These are the things that you need to think about, though. Like, I had 7 poison jabs is how much it takes to get from 0 to Earth Power. I had that amount of time to think up a game plan on how I was going to win that game, because I knew that he was going to have to throw a charge move against the Nidoqueen, and so I know that he can get to that charge move before I can do 100 damage to 0 down, even though we had a Foul Play's worth of damage. So anyways, we get to round number 4 here, I believe, against Pokemaster Bud. Now, we were on stream during this round, so I can't screen record while the streaming equipment is hooked up to my phone. So we're just taking the stream from the Pogo Houston Pokemon streaming service. Anyways, I'll put a link to their Twitch below, and we'll get back into this match. So I believe I went double water here. So Vaporeon was the very last Pokemon that we brought into our team the night before. So we swapped out Lanoon for Skuntank, but I still had Shelgon on my team to that point. And then I started thinking about, I love Shelgon in this cup, but you know, the apex predator in this cup is Alolan Ninetales. Alolan Ninetales is the scariest Pokemon in this cup, and I don't think I can afford to be weak to Alolan Ninetales in 2 of my generalist Pokemon. So I decided to bring Vaporeon, and I had never really played the double water strategy. Sure, in testing, I did a little bit of double, and triple water even, but I had never done it in a tournament setting or even that extensive a practice. So I do have a Vaporeon with Last Resort, but I just don't know the matchups as much as I should probably. Anyways, so this Gyro Ball is going to do super effective damage because Steel is super effective against Fairy, and the guy in charge of the stream actually mentioned it. He said, all day I've been waiting to see a Gyro Ball hit a Fairy. And yeah, we go into the Bibarel matchup here, and we get taken out, and we lose game 1 here. And I attribute that to the lack of knowledge that I have using Vaporeon. I didn't use it very much in this cup, but that's not because it's not good, it's because I am not well practiced with it, which is probably another reason you shouldn't just swap your Pokemon out willy-nilly before the tournament starts. But to my credit, it still provided a lot of bench pressure. You know, if they see double water, they're going to assume a lot of things. They're going to assume that at some point you're going to bring in a double water team, or they're going to be afraid of the things that are weak against water, of bringing them in, which are usually the anti-charmers. So I believe this game we started with Alolan Ninetales. Man, you know what? As I'm commentating this, I'm realizing how much I need my own UI setup to know exactly what's happening when I go on these rants, because I'm looking at it now. Okay, look, I'm down a shield, and he's got an Umbreon out. This is probably going to be a last resort. But yeah, I don't know everything that happened. I don't see all the shields all the time. I'm just noticing how much I depend on it while I'm doing my commentary. It's funny. Anyways, we take out that Umbreon, and he brings in Alolan Sandslash here, and we're actually at a shield disadvantage still. We're down 1 shield, and we take it with that crunch. And he actually uses a Gyro Ball here. I believe I'm just going to let this go, which must mean I have a water in the back. Yep, I have Bibarel. You know what this does help, though? It makes me think of what I wish I had in the back, and if I had thought about it in the moment. And it's funny to see that, like when I just said I probably have a Bibarel in the back because I'm not shielding there. It's just funny, you know. Although I could have had also Umbreon in the back. So happens I have both in the back. But good to see that my mind is able to think the same way in the tournament and outside the tournament. And he brings in Bibarel here, and even though so we're at a shield apiece, I'm going to just go for a foul play here, and if he shields it, we'll go for a second foul play. We do have a lot of time before he can get to a second surf. And he actually just lets it go, and I believe he still has that Sandslash in the back. So this is really scary for us. We're really low, and I believe it's going to take 2 foul plays for us to get through this Alolan Sandslash. Looks like we still have the Bibarel in the back. I don't remember how much HP is back there, but it looks like he uses a charge move here. He probably should have farmed us down, because now our Bibarel is going to do a lot of fast attacks. And I think even if we didn't have a surf there, we would have had enough fast attacks to have brought him down, because it would have taken him a long time to get to Ice Punch. And I also don't believe Ice Punch would have taken us out, as we do resist Ice for being a water type. I didn't see what team I brought in here, but I started with Bibarel, which means I either have Skuntank or Umbreon in the back, plus either Alolan Ninetales or Nidoqueen, I believe. These are the kind of strats that, like, I think in my head. Oh, I didn't see it. What was it? So Skuntank was back there, like we thought. I didn't see what the last one was back there. So the way that I thought about this cup a lot, what I figured out here near the end is that when you make a team of 3, you're going to want 2 generalists, or 2 things that you can safe swap into, and 1 thing that I'm going to call is volatile. So volatile means it super wins a certain matchup, but it loses a lot more number of matchups of the other, how do you say it, of the other, like, competitive meta. So, like, Alolan Ninetales loses to, like, the water types, and it loses to all of the anti-charmers. but it super beats the Umbreon. And then the same thing for Nidoqueen. It loses hard to the waters, which are obviously going to be on almost every team. I actually believe water. I mean, you're going to have a water of some type on every team. I can almost guarantee that. And but it loses to the waters, but super beats Alola Ninetales. So you want to go 2 safe, 1 volatile. That way, whenever you get your safe swap in and you end up taking one of their Pokemon out, because the safe swaps are usually going to be good in one-shield scenarios, you're going to be able to have that hard counter in the back for the thing that beat that eventually beats that thing that beat their thing in the one-shield scenario. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying there. So we are in an Umbreon mirror match, just like we always are. And it looks like he goes for a foul play here. I'm actually surprised he might be going for 2 foul plays. We also go for a foul play, but he's he's a lot lower HP than we are. So that's really interesting that he went for a foul play there. He must have thought that a last resort doesn't take us out, which means that he has to go for 2 foul plays, which is that is true, and that's probably what he was thinking. Alright, so at this point we are 4-0, and we are going up against Popcornio. And interesting enough, we talked a little bit before our game started. We actually talked a long time before the game started. We probably should have waited till after, but either way, we talked, and we're actually in the same remote league for the Texas PvP remote leagues that just started probably 40 days ago, 45, 50, something like that. And we were actually we looked, and we're 1 day away from friendship. So we decided to just when we were doing this battle, instead of sending a gift, to hit Ultra with each other. So that's awesome. And actually I met a few other people there that are in the same lobby I'm in. Hypercubicle and Mootsie Boots, I think. Mootsie Two Shoes, I think. And yeah, Popcornio. So really cool to have met these people out there, and really awesome. I totally, it's funny, I saw Hypercubicle's name tag, because they made us all wear name tags, and I was talking to one of my buddies, and I was like, why do I know that name? Is he like one of the big PvPers? And he said he knew the name too, and then Hypercubicle actually came up to me later, and he's like, hey, we're in the same remote lobby, and I was like, oh, that's where I remember your name from. Okay, awesome. Anyways, so we come into this first game against Popcornio, both 4-0, and it looks like Alola Ninetales and Bibarel are both down, and 1 shield apiece have been used on both sides. And we're going for the last resort here in the Umbreon mirror match, if you can believe it. Such a rare occurrence. And he swaps out into Bibarel, and we decide to swap in a Nidoqueen. Now you're asking, that's a weird swap, but what I'm thinking at this point is I need my Umbreon to be up as much health as I can against his Umbreon and his Bibarel, so I'm willing to sacrifice my Nidoqueen in this matchup if it means that I can come in with Umbreon, farm a little bit, get the foul play here, take out the Bibarel, and then have a little bit of energy in that Umbreon matchup. But we end up not taking out the Bibarel here. We were just a little bit short on our calculation there. So, yeah. So, I do think I probably win that match if I don't swap out and we just have the Nidoqueen with 1 shield. If it gets to that point, because we still would need the Bibarel to shield. I don't know, that would be a close one there, for sure. I would love to see what that actually was. So we come in here with game 3, and unlike what I had just said earlier, the 2 safe and 1 volatile Pokemon actually go 3 safe Pokemon in this game. Now we win the lead against the Bibarel, and when he throws in his Umbreon, I look at the rest of my team. The rest of my team doesn't beat Umbreon, especially when Umbreon has that 1 fast attack advantage. So I decide I have all this energy on my Umbreon still. I'm going to just stay in this Umbreon matchup, and I can leave my Bibarel to take on the mirror later if I need to. And right here it looks like I swap in just to take a hit on my Skuntank. Because I guess at this point I believed, oh, I see. I see what I might have thought. As soon as he used his energy, I needed to swap out so that there was no extra energy advantage when I bring in my Skunk Tank. And Skunk Tank's not great against Bibarel, so we know we want to come in and gain as much damage on the Umbreon as we can in that matchup. Now, I believe I should come back in with Umbreon here, especially since I have a full Foul Play's worth of energy. Use it here against Bibarel. It's going to take the 4 more Snarls and another Foul Play to take him out, and I decide I want to be at full health. I know he's still got that Umbreon in the back, and we don't know what his third Pokemon is yet, as of yet. So we gain the shield, so it's interesting. He's really holding on to this Bibarel, who's not good in this matchup. I don't know what he has in the back. At this point, I would guess something like Nidoqueen, just because I don't fully understand what is happening right now. It must be something that's really bad against the water type. And bad against Umbreon. Which means it definitely isn't Ninetales, right? So we take out the Umbreon because we have such a health advantage. Yeah, we lose half our health, but I believe his Bibarel is too low to actually take us out, and we can farm it down. Ooh, I believe that's a Surf here, which may mean we survive. No, it's a Hyper Fang, takes us out. But our Umbreon's going to be able to farm this Bibarel all the way down, and we have a Foul Play, but we're so low against whatever's in the back, and it is Nidoqueen, so we did assume that right. Now, the full health Nidoqueen versus, I believe we had something around 70 energy. It's going to take 40, I believe 40 energy, 45 energy for each Foul Play. So we have 2 Foul Plays off, a third Foul Play will take out the Nidoqueen, and there you see the raw power of Umbreon. I was able to get to 3 Foul Plays from about 40% HP against the 100% HP Nidoqueen before she could get off an Earth Power with the 7 Poison Jabs. Yes, I did have a 70 to 80 energy lead, which obviously means a lot, but that's, I don't know, that's just insane to me. Anyway, so we come into this third game. We have Alola Ninetales against Bibarel. We had a little bit of a snafu in the game before. It said in the middle of the game, it said our characters had moved too far away from each other, and so we decided to leave, and I got out of the game, and I had walked like 3 blocks down the street somehow. So we use a shield to take a shield. That's pretty much what that is, and I want something else to take the hit here, because if he has Umbreon in the back, I want to make sure that my Ninetales is still going to be pretty good. And he actually ends up swapping out. His Bibarel is super low in the back. That's interesting. Nidoqueen needs as much time as possible because Skunk Tank and Nidoqueen both have Poison Jab, but Crunch costs a lot less than Earth Power. But Earth Power will one-shot Skunk Tank. And the reason I just let it go there was because I know I have Bibarel in the back. I probably shield here, yeah. So I'm going to try to farm this matchup completely down. I don't want to use a Surf right away because I know he might try to throw in Bibarel. So I want to see exactly what I'm doing, and he has a Alola Ninetales here in the back, so we have Exact Mirror in the back, Exact Mirror here in the 2v2, but he does have a shield. Oh, I remember this game now. I throw the Surf here, and I should swap out immediately, but I try to go for a few more autos and then swap out to try to finish the Ninetales off. If I had swapped out earlier, look at the HP, and the attack actually went through, but your damage is cancelled if they throw a charge attack. And I forgot how low his Bibarel was in the back. We deserve that, though. We won 2 of our matches with a sliver of health, so it's about time we lost a match with a sliver of health, right? So we do lose that match, but I remember thinking after the game, if I just had 2 more seconds to think about exactly what I needed to do, I could have figured that out. I could have swapped in right after the Surf, which is what I should have done, and I would have won that match. So we come up here against Arctic in round 6, I believe. Yeah, we're 4-1. This is round 6. Arctic is from San Antonio also. He's in our local leagues. He also has a YouTube channel. I will link it below. Yeah, so I believe at this point we're both 4-1. So really good player from San Antonio. I believe he was in first place in our local at Northwest Raiders for the leaderboard. And he comes in, he starts with Skunk Tank, we start with B-Barrel. It's favored for us. We do end up taking a shield, and then I believe we swapped into, no, he swapped into Umbreon, and we swapped into Umbreon also. And we're QSAing like a madman here to gain a bunch of lead advantage here so that we could go for the 2 last resorts before he gets off another Dark Pulse. So that's one thing we noticed right away. He's using Foul Play and Dark Pulse, so he doesn't have a Legacy. So we already know we have the advantage in the Umbreon Mirror. And what this tells me later on in the game, later on for game 2 and 3, is that I always want to bring Umbreon, because my Umbreon's going to have better matchups against his, since it beats his Umbreon, that's no longer a mirror match, it's a winning matchup for me. So that means Umbreon beats 5 of the Pokemon on his team. It'll be interesting to see if I always bring Umbreon or not, because just because I'm thinking that out right now doesn't mean I thought it at the tournament, but like I said earlier, hopefully you'd want to think the same under pressure than when you're not under pressure. So yeah, Umbreon's going to be strong against, like I said, 5 of his teams, so at this point, Umbreon's just doing so much damage against the rest of his team that we just left him in no matter what the swap-in was. But he is getting low, and we don't want to get farmed down, so we go into our unused Pokemon of Skunk Tank, and we're just going to throw off the charge moves when we get them against... yeah, he had a shield there, and he didn't shield because we still had 3 Pokemon left. He knew it was over, just wanted to get to the next game here. Oh, so I didn't record the first game. Yes, so that was actually the second game. So we're 2-0 at this point, and we come up against the dreaded Suicune. So, hate Suicune. We kind of thought he might lead it in one of these games. I actually thought he would lead it in game 2. But he comes in here with it against our Alolan Ninetales. And we are just going to stay in, try to take the shield here. And then I think we're just going to try to farm it down. And we don't care if it's Bubble Beam or Hyper Beam. It's fine. I believe that was Water Pulse. So yeah, probably doesn't have the TMs to switch out his charge moves. So for us as well, if you've noticed our Nidoqueen, we don't actually have Earthquake, we have Stone Edge. I would love to have Earthquake, but I used my last 5 charge TMs trying to get that Earthquake, and it just went, we started with Sludge Wave, Stone Edge, Sludge Wave, Stone Edge, Sludge Wave, Stone Edge, and now we're at Stone Edge, so not great. So yeah, 4 or 5 TMs, I forget how many we had after the Reggie Day, or whatever that was called, Colossal event. Yeah. So we actually ended up taking out the Skunk Tank, and our B-Barrel actually ends up taking out the Suicune. So that is one thing I noticed. I think Alolan Ninetales seems to be pretty good against Suicune, as long as you don't get Hyper Beamed. And then B-Barrel also seems really good against Suicune. And when I say really good, I mean you can win the matchup eventually when you've gone through like 3 minutes of horrific Bubble Beams. I know a lot of people actually got to the timeout. We did not time out of any of our games, and I don't remember being that close to timing out any of our games, but we are also not running Suicune. I know I saw actually a lot more Suicune than I thought. I would say something like 10% of the people had Suicune, which is interesting. So I bet a lot of timeouts happened in this tournament, which means the highest health Pokemon wins, or the most Pokemon win, whichever. So it's most Pokemon, or if you have the same number, the highest percent health. So we're on stream here again in round 7, sorry, the very last round of the tournament, and we're against Opoi 5, and he has a really unique team. I really wish I could have my graphic up. He went 4 normal types. So he's got Furret, Alolan Raticate, Alolan Raichu. What are those other normal types? Kangaskhan. Yeah, we'll have to see when he goes and checks again. But so the beginning of this video, I know you saw the me versus Kangaskhan. That is Oh man, that's foreshadowing for what's about to happen and my unfortunate run-in with Kangaskhan. But that'll be in game 2. So, against Furret, we started Bibarel. Bibarel actually loses that matchup straight up because Brick Break is super effective against normal types. And I will say, I said this on stream when they did the interview with me, but it's really, so if you're well practiced with a unique team like he has, it's really hard for a person who hasn't practiced against a lot of those Pokemon to develop a strategy against it. So for me, I just kept leading Bibarel and getting destroyed by Furret, and then I would swap into Umbreon, and Umbreon's taking super effective damage from the Brick Breaks also. Like, Furret actually did so much damage to me in these games. If you could just see the damage charts from all 3 games, Furret would be so far above everything else on my team, on his team. So it looks like he gets the Lairon here, and he actually probably should have farmed me down there, but he probably thought it was really close to a foul play, so he just threw a charge move anyways. And he has a Alolan Raichu here, and we just throw off our Hyper Fang, and we need to swap into our Nidoqueen, and our Nidoqueen actually ends up eating this Thunder Punch that he was going to throw against the Bibarel Water type. So, yeah. Oh, Lairon was still alive. And, yeah, our Nidoqueen just takes that there. I actually really love Nidoqueen against his team. It beats the Alolan Raichu, and yeah, I think it's just the heavy damage from Earth Power is going to be really good against all the normal types. So here he brings in Kangaskhan against our Nidoqueen, another matchup I just don't really know anything about, so I'm just going to try to get to this Earth Power. And yeah, he's probably going to shield because it's probably going to KO this Kangaskhan. And then I decide to swap, but he must have QSA'd because we must have CMP tied because we were locked in and I couldn't actually swap out. And then I bring in this Bibarel because I know it's going to be good against the Kangaskhan. I just need to get to the Surf. Now we've already shielded a Power-Up Punch, so I didn't want to look like a fool and shield 2 Power-Up Punches. But you know what? I end up taking this Outrage, and my Bibarel just gets absolutely destroyed by it. And it's funny because after this match, I got so many messages from people just telling me like, hey, I saw you got outraged, bro, and things like that. And I was just like, oh no. That's the thing now. I'm the guy that got outraged by a Kangaskhan. And it really decided this matchup. Like, he ended up taking out my Bibarel for free. And, yeah, I'm in this good matchup right here. Umbreon against this Bibarel. But I've already used shields. Like, I used that shield on a Power-Up Punch. Like, he shield baited me, and he got my Pokemon. That's the worst thing that could happen. You're I'm losing a Pokemon and a shield, and then being expected to win. It would take a lot. Umbreon does bring a lot, but not that much. Especially with Furret, who's going to be doing super effective damage against this Umbreon. When it does come back in, which I believe... Oh, he actually got the Surf off. I think Umbreon survives, but it'll be close. Yeah, and then it'll just farm me down with the Raichu. But I do swap out to the Nidoqueen, but this time he has the Grass Knot. That's going to take out Nidoqueen. And my Umbreon's too low. It's just going to get taken out by these Thunder Shocks. So super good play by him. As you see, we fist bump there. Like, we had a good laugh. Like, I never saw that coming. I don't know the movesets of Kangaskhan. I knew that it had Power-Up Punch just because Jay Devin's always talking about Kangaskhan. And he actually picked Kangaskhan as one of the 3 that I could choose from for our YouTubers Choose Pick'ems series for Ferocious Cup. I'll put a link to that, or I'll put the video at the end screen if you want to go look at that. But that's the only move I knew was Power-Up Punch. So now I've got the fear of God in me. Like, oh god, Kangaskhan's coming out again. Just use as many foul plays as you can. Just take it out. So foul play actually doesn't do a whole lot. It does about 30%, so we need to get 2 or 3 off. We do get the shield here. I believe he would have survived, so maybe it's not necessary. And I thought about Outrage here, and I was like, I bet Umbreon can survive an Outrage from half health. So I'm not shielding it. And if he does something else here at the end, I don't think I'm shielding it anyways either again. Oh, we take his last shield, and I knew I was super close to the Surf on the Bibarel, so I just swapped out to do the double charge move in a row after a shield, which is super... It's devastating when it happens to you, because you're like, okay, I shielded, so I'm going to be super close to my next move, and his Pokemon's not going to be close to his next move, because he just expended all that energy, but with the swap out, I had a move already ready, and all of that plan just goes away, and yeah, it's not great. So I don't think he could have farmed me down here. I was really close to that Surf, but he would have survived a Surf, so maybe he didn't have to do that. Our Umbreon is pretty low from what I remember. It's about 30% health. We do get to this Foul Play just because Snarl is such a crazy energy advantage move, or energy gaining move. But yeah, we get taken down by this Surf, and I'm not going to shield. I'm super low. I probably die to like the 3 water guns anyways. And we have Nidoqueen versus Furret, and it's just a race for me to get to my charge move. I do have a shield still advantage, so yeah, that's going to be that. And so we end up going 6-1 in this tournament. Really met a lot of good people here, and like not only like good-hearted, but like these people were actually insanely good. If you notice, all those matches came down. I heard it throughout the day. All the matches came down to like one sliver of health, whatever. So there were actually prizes available for the top finisher, and then the 4 finishers after that will get the pin. So we decided to do a best of 1 with your team, just 1 game, playoffs, single elimination. So it was me against Arrow, and then Hugs versus Sausalito. And then the winner of those 2 will play each other, and the winner of that will get the grand prize, which was a copy of both Sun and Moon, a Pokemon Sun and Moon, or no, Sword and Shield. Sorry, I don't have a Switch, so Sword and Shield, the newer one, and yeah, they would win that as well as the pin here. So we both go for the QSA, and neither of us is willing to give to the other one, but we don't get to 100 energy on that one. And I QSA here, he QSAs as well, and we get to 100 energy here, and I literally tell him I'm not going to press first. And so he eventually presses, but technically, and I didn't even think this through, technically I'm not gaining anything if I go to 100 energy. So if we both go to 100 energy, no one gained anything. The QSA doesn't mean, it literally means nothing if you both go to 100 energy. But I just thought it was funny because I literally told him, I was like, I will not be the first person to press, while we were doing stupid snarls at each other for like half of Umbreon's HP. So we're both just hanging on for dear life in this first Umbreon mirror. Literally, I believe he's shielded twice now, and I have also shielded. And he's going for the farm down, but he does not get it. So that really did a lot. Switch advantage means so much in this cup. It really means a lot. So we get switch advantage here, but yeah, he's got the Bibarel here, and we do not want to be in that Nidoqueen matchup. And he says he was really surprised that I didn't block this, but we don't actually die to a Hyper Fang. We would never block that there, if we had 2 shields, obviously we would. But with 1 shield, we never block there because we know we have the shield advantage. We just have to block the move that is going to kill us, so that we can have as much advantage as we can get. And so with that non-shield, I'm able to get to the farm down and surf. If I do shield the first one, he can come in with a Hyper Fang at the second one, which means I would have to surf earlier, which means I go into the last matchup. Yeah, I still win the Bibarel matchup, but I go into the last matchup with no energy. So, Peace Love Hugs actually ended up beating Sausalito, so this is the very last match to decide who gets the grand prize. Yeah, I had never played against Peace Love Hugs before, so I just decided to go the exact same team that beat Arrow, and that team actually is just the most basic team there could be in a cup, or in this cup. It's Umbreon, Bibarel, and then a Volatile in the back. And since I love Nidoqueen so much, and I've used Nidoqueen on every single team that I've formed in this cup, I'm bringing Nidoqueen. Now, I super late switch into this matchup because I thought for a long... I stood on that, man, it's pretty bad. I was on that switch window for too long, probably 3 or 4 attacks of Poison Jab before I decided to bring in Nidoqueen, and that means Nidoqueen loses his matchup anyways. And I probably should have brought in B-Roll as well. But he ends up throwing also the game because he should have shielded my Nidoqueen and just farmed down. And then killed with a crunch, but had an extra few energy advantage. But here, I rethrow it back to him by not bringing back in Umbreon. And they said it on stream. You have to go with the matchup that you know is a winning matchup because you don't know what's in the back. My mindset in this game was literally the opposite of that. And it was, I don't know what's in the back, but I know my Umbreon has a full Fouls play. Actually, I believe I had like 60-something energy on my Umbreon. So I'm going to have that going into the last matchup, and I'm going to be good. Problem, he brought Alolan Ninetales. So I don't know why, but in my mind, during the games playing out, obviously I'm thinking about his third Pokemon the entire time. As we were playing more and more, in my mind, I literally said to myself, I bet Alolan Ninetales is not in the back. 100% not in the back. But it was, and that's why he's the person that took out the undefeated player to force the tie, the 5-way tie. And that's why he is the top player in Texas, because he's really good. And he's really good at picking his team. He's really good at which Pokemon are going to get swapped in and all that. So loved playing in this tournament. Loved playing against all of the people. Everyone did a great job out there. Would love to play in the future tournaments. I know I missed the Lubbock one. It was my birthday that we were celebrating my birthday that weekend, so I knew I couldn't make it up to Lubbock the night after or the day after. And then I know I missed the Richmond tournament as well, because we already had a camping trip planned at the Texas Renaissance Festival in Houston, or Texas Renaissance Fair. Which was a 3-day camping thing. Awesome. You guys should definitely check out Texas Renaissance if you haven't done it. It's in Houston. I think it's the biggest fair, the biggest Renaissance fair in. I believe it's the biggest in the world, and it happens between September and December of every year. So weird plug, but go ahead and check that out. Yeah. So this is the end of the video. Sorry, it's a really long one, but 7 rounds, 3 games each round. And I'll just leave you with the clip you want to see. So I'll see you in the next video.
And he gets the shield. Oh, man, this could be bad.
Yeah, because that counter was already doing. So here comes. He's still going to do good damage here, but that water gun's going to.
Oh, my. Oh, if he gets. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
I just wiped that out.
That is disrespectful.
Yeah, it is. I don't think
that is disrespectful.